Right. My refutation speech is on how advertisements are distorting women's perception on body image. The points I will be refuting include the use of Photoshop that has young women emulating and striving for bodies that are unrealistic and deceiving. Secondly, that fad diet advertisements are prompting girls to risk their health in order to achieve advertised results by the company. And lastly, that advertisements are slowly stereotyping women into one general category. The first point addressed in my speech, talks about Photoshop's harmful effects on youth and how it leads to negative body image. However, there is little to no correlation that viewing Photoshop ads and developing bad body image. In fact, the Bureau of Advertising Purity once commented on a bill called the Truth in Advertising Act of 2014, which talked about regulating Photoshop's use in advertisements to help generate positive body image for the nation's youth. They said that first the bill would have us believe that there was a strong link between eating disorders and mental disorders and that viewing images altered by Photoshop. This alone is a highly dubious claim that deserves a high degree of skepticism. The most obvious question is, why do millions of people view Photoshop-altered images and fail to suffer from eating disorders and other maladies? Secondly, the bill seems to assume that children's parents are ill-suited to helping understand the context of advertising messages. Thirdly, there is no ability to measure the implied benefits against the very problems listed. And fourth, mental illnesses are incredibly difficult to diagnose, understand, and treat. This claim is a sweeping generalization and a false cause because there is no statistical information or research that can prove this claim as true. The second claim I will refute is that fad diets are harming women because they wish to achieve unattainable results. One thing I will say is that fad diets have always been around. In fact, an article on WebMD says that although fad diets usually claim to be cutting edge, most recycle ideas that have been knocking around for some cases a century. For example, New York doctor William Howard Hayes had a theory that proteins and carbohydrates should never be used together in the same diet, and it's still popping around in diet books today. This shows that fad diets have been around and aren't affecting us any more now as they did then. My second point I will make about fad diets is they are simply a response to the growing problem of modern-day obesity and not advertisements. According to one study done by the American Academy of Pediatrics, in which the perceptions concerning weight, dieting practices, and nutrition of 326 adolescent girls attending an upper-middle-class patriarchal school were studied in relation to their body weight. As many as 51% of the underweight adolescents described themselves as being extremely fearful of being overweight, and 36 were preoccupied with body fat. The data suggested that fear of obesity and inappropriate eating behaviors are pervasive among adolescent girls, regardless of body weight or nutritional knowledge. The last point I will be refuting is that they are advertisements are slowly stereotyping women into one general category. First, I would like to offer up a counterpoint to the speaker's sweeping generalization that many stores only cater to people of a certain size. There are stores that cater to plus-size women, and it's a rapidly growing industry. One article on the CSNBC webpage gives us an example of how many companies see the potential of selling towards plus-size women. Recently, two industries have turned an eye towards the often ignored plus-size apparel category, generating a 7% sales increase and lifting the category to a $17.6 billion industry. According to the NPD Group, the growth has been spurred by traditional retailers such as H&M and Abercrombie and Fitch, adding higher sizes into their assortments, and by new competitors in the plus-size specialty market, which typically serves women sizes 14 and higher, according to IBIS World. The last point I'd like to make is about the speaker's claim involves a counterpoint against the Eat Less t-shirt brought by Urban Outfitters, and that there are plenty of examples of t-shirts that advertise positive body image, and that there's an example of a hasty generalization. A quick Google search for positive body image t-shirts gave me like over 100 results for t-shirts that promoted positive body health. The reason why this matters is the majority of the world wants to celebrate positive body image and not dwell on the negative ways the world distorts our point of view. It is important to love who we are and not be hurt by what others might think. Inclusion, there is no correlation between Photoshop and negative body image. Fad diets have always been around, and people do them as a result of unhealthy lifestyles and not because of advertisements. And lastly, stores cater to plus-size women, and there are plenty of examples of people expressing positive body image. Thank you.
Okay, the structural stuff is laid out very clearly, so your signposts are fine. Your challenge on the first point is that there's a lack of correlation, and you've got some evidence from the act that had been proposed. I guess it's testimony about that particular act that seems like it's very much on point. So I thought you did a pretty good job there. The argument that it's a sweeping generalization of false cause, I think you could perhaps indicate some other causalities along the lines of what you talk about in the next point, but you know, I thought it was a pretty reasonable challenge on that point. There's not really much analysis of what the advocate's evidence was, and I think maybe you could be a little bit more assertive about that point. On the fad diets argument, the notion that the fad diets have always been around, that they're simply being recycled, that's okay. I did like the argument that you had that says that it's really a response to obesity and not a response to the photoshopped images or the advertising images. The word is parochial. I think you had a little bit of trouble with parochial school. And then on the third point, I thought you did another good job arguing that you've got a sweeping generalization that's being presented here. The advocate only had a couple of examples of businesses that were exclusive to smaller sizes, and you have a substantial piece of data that suggests that industry is in fact addressing those kinds of issues. And I kind of like the idea that you came up with of Googling, positive body image type shirt themes, and that there were dozens of, I was waiting for one of them though. I can remember the title of the one that the advocate used, Eat Less, and I don't have any memory or any references to the ones you said. There were hundreds of them. Give me a slogan, or a couple of examples to show that that's the case. I thought that would have worked well. A little too much reading, and but I like the summary at the end also. You did a good job on that. All right, thank you.